What's a small act of kindness you were once shown that you'll never forget? I fainted walking up steps on my way to calculus at university. A stranger caught me and put me down on the landing. If it wasn't for him, I would have gotten very hurt. Neighbors asked to borrow my truck. Told them I could not trust my truck because the tires were bad. Next day, Mr. Neighbor called and said he was getting new tires for his Suburban, and I could have his old ones. Told me to just show up at this certain tire shop and they would put them on. Get to tire shop, and they put on brand new Goodyear tires. I asked what happened to the old tires I was supposed to receive. Shop owner said the old tires was just a story to get me in the shop. Mr. Neighbor bought me a full set of new tires instead of the old tires he said I could have. My gym teacher purchased me lunch in 3rd grade after I dropped mine. I'm 34 years old and still remember this. Alternator died while I was driving home from university. Engine died as I exited the freeway in the middle of the night in a not so pleasant part of town in the days before cell phones. As I'm pushing my car out of the intersection, a guy in a truck comes up and offers to push my car to my neighborhood a good 3 miles away. He does so, and I'm pulling into my neighborhood. He simply gives a wave and drives off into the night. I never even had a chance to thank him. I was given access to a shower and a hot meal after being homeless for 9 months. I have 2 moments that I'll never forget. When I was younger, my mum was depressed and we had very little money. It was either eating or eating a lot. An old lady around the corner from us would invite us over for tea sometimes, or breakfast before school. She knitted me, my baby sister, and my mum cardigans, socks, and a blanket each one winter when it was really bad. I was at a terrible time of my life at 17, had a bad day at work, and then my train home was an hour late. I just started crying at the train station, and was really wondering if it was all worth it. A woman just held me for a bit while I cried. She was a complete stranger. I've never seen her since, but I needed her, I guess. I think she saved my life that day. Riding my bike on a long trip through Canada. With about 50 miles to go, I had a major mechanical failure. Stuck on the side of the road in a foreign country, within 5 minutes, at least 10 cars had stopped to check on me. One guy loaded my bike in the back of his truck and drove me 30 miles to the border, where I could catch a ferry back to the US. Amazing kindness and generosity toward a stranger. He just asked that I pay it forward, and to date I've helped 5 cyclists who were broken down in honor of that promise. I was 9 years old, waiting for the school bus in Wisconsin winter. I had a thin coat, no hat or gloves. A woman driving past saw me and stopped, giving me a blanket from the back of her car. It was a long skinny one, so she wrapped it around my head and shoulders like a big scarf. I remember thanking her, but being confused. I told her I didn't know how I would give it back when I was done borrowing it. She hugged me and said not to worry. I still have that blanket. I recorded a homemade album with my garage band in high school, and handed out a few CDs. A few weeks later my English teacher approached me with 5 pages of notes on what he liked and what I could improve on. He apparently got the CD from someone at the high school, and listened to it all the way through. It was over an hour long. He didn't know I was a singer and guitar player until he asked the person who gave him the CD. He said that if I ever got a shot in a studio, I would create something amazing. Thank you to all the teachers out there who believe in their students. It makes all the difference to some of us. I took my sister who's in a wheelchair to the cinema for the first time on my own. At the end, I realized I couldn't undo the brakes, and was blocking everyone. I felt like crying because I thought everyone was pissed at me, but some nice lady helped me, then took me and my sister out. She said she once had a son who needed a wheelchair. This was long ago, but I'll never forget. When I was young, 19, I lost my wallet and someone used my license to rack up tickets. It was pretty obvious once courts looked at the location of the tickets, and what vehicle was used, the signature, that it wasn't me. I had to go to around 3 courts clearing it up. The 3rd judge was the only one with a problem. He said I had failures to appear since the tickets were ignored. I explained what was happening, and how I've been dealing with this, and I came in as soon as I was made aware of the issue. He wanted to put me in jail because he didn't trust I'd be back. He wouldn't look at my paperwork because it was an arraignment. He would only look at it during the trial date. I didn't know what to do, but I had the name of the public defender memorized. I asked if I could talk with her first. He called her in and said, "This young man seems to know you." I quickly explained what was happening and showed her my evidence. She told the judge that if he didn't release me to come back, she'd pay my bail out of her own pocket. He scorned me but released me. I just had to return the next month during the trial date. I was 19 then, 39 now. When I was in high school, a guy stole my iPod out of my backpack. I didn't think I'd ever get it back. Maybe a week later, a guy I never really talked to came up to me and told me he bought my iPod from that guy and then gave it back to me. He didn't even ask for anything in return. In middle school, my softball team lost a match. A girl from the other team walked over to me and handed me a blue pouch. At first, I couldn't open it, so I said thank you and walked with my parents to my car. After examining it for a while, I was able to open it and pull out this really cute softball necklace. I still have it to this day. I had to get a spinal fusion surgery for my scoliosis. During my week-long recovery, one of the nurses asked me what my favorite candy was out of the blue. I told her, chocolate. During her next shift, she walked in with a huge tin full of chocolate and a cute stuffed sloth. I still have the sloth. She also put up balloons and a happy birthday sign for my sister who was visiting me. Another nurse cried when I left and hugged me. I was literally astounded by their kindness towards me. I felt really bad that they had to take care of me all the time during my stay, but they really made me feel welcome. Also, my surgery was successful and I'm basically pain-free. I literally coasted into a gas station out of gas on my motorcycle, then realized I didn't have my wallet. Some lady saw me patting all my pockets and that I was upset, and offered to fill up my tank. I only let her put $5 in, which on a bike is a lot. But it meant so much to me. I was out of a job at a time that I had to support my mother. Finally landed one, but I had to walk back and forth and I didn't have any shoes that would hold up on the walk or the work. Went to Facebook and mom asked around for some hand-me-downs we could buy from someone. A day later, a very kind man showed up with a brand new pair of really nice shoes he had just gone out and bought for me. He left before I could even get any money for him. I cried. At work I was complaining about heartburn once. I was still pretty new to the job. Didn't really have any work friends. Felt like an outsider. My life outside of work was pretty shit as well. The bartender on shift overheard me and ran to a nearby coffee shop to get me a chocolate milk. It definitely made the heartburn go away, but it was such a needlessly kind act. I don't think I'll ever forget it. 2 years later we're still friends, and she is definitely one of the kindest people I've ever met. The time my car broke down in the middle of the night, and my phone died and I didn't know what to do. A random stranger pulled over and told me, "We all need a little help sometimes," and I'll never forget her words as she helped me jumpstart my car. I had a coworker about 10 years ago. We became work friends, but he was moving to another state. So on his last day, he brought and gave me an iPod Nano, back when they were fairly new, completely filled with different music that we had talked about or listened to together. No one had ever done something that thoughtful for me before. I could have cried. If you're out there, Gabe, that's something that I will always remember. Choking to death on a roadside and a nice guy stopped and did the Heimlich on me. Thanks bro. Edit, more details for those asking. Leaving a park with my son. Put a hard candy in my mouth. Said something to my son. Candy slipped down my throat. Immediately knew I was effed. Couldn't get air. Threw the car in park. Left my son wondering. WTF, started flagging down people on street. Guy and his girl stopped. Shit started to go dark. Made universal choking sign. Guy understood. I could tell he wasn't sure what to do, so I guided his hands to correct position. After 4 or so heaves the candy popped out. I gave him a big hug and we went our ways. scariest moment of my life, not dying per se, but dying in front of my son. I transferred in the middle of first grade to a school that did ice cream Fridays, where you'd pay like 50 or 75 cents for whatever kind, and then you'd watch an educational video in the classroom. I was unaware of this when the first Friday rolled around, so I didn't have any change and neither did the kid next to me. Normally there would be a few who didn't get ice cream, but this day we were the only two. So the teacher called the both of us aside and gave us each the change required to have our ice cream. I think the biggest thing was that she didn't do it in front of the other kids, so it looked like we had brought the money all along. It was incredibly kind of her. She was a wonderful teacher outside of that as well. TLDR, I and another student didn't have money for ice cream the day everyone else did. The teacher bought us ice cream so we wouldn't be left out. Edit, I am going to try to reach out to the school to find the teacher and send her an email if possible, as a lot of you suggested. I broke my foot and was trying to limp my way across campus with crutches in the pouring rain. Someone ran over with their umbrella and walked across campus with me so I wouldn't get rained on. When I was at school, I helped a girl out when she was having a meltdown in the bathroom. A few weeks later she pretended to be my friend who had been waiting to meet me when I was being followed home by two guys. We never saw each other outside of those two occasions, but I still think about her and hope she's doing okay somewhere out there. I had just lost my insurance and my epilepsy medication was over $400. The pharmacist got me some coupons that cut the price in half. She didn't have to, and it was against company policy. I now work in a pharmacy in the chain, but she did it anyway. Very nice lady. I was bullied in elementary school and an older boy defended me. He became my first crush and I still remember him. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more daily Reddit videos.